if you came to this video because you want to see what the dumbest way you could possibly learn how to do a backflip is, just slow down a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
You see, when I went to gymnastics, I was 13 years old and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do a backflip. And then my instructor, he didn't show up to work. Like literally just didn't show up to work. And the owner of the gym was like, I'm like gonna take a class. And they're like, your instructor's not here today. And she's like, but do you want to learn how to teach gymnastics? Mm-hmm. Okay,
yes.
I guess, why not? So at 13 years old, I started learning how to teach gymnastics, having no clue what I was doing, and nobody wanting to spot me how to do a backflip, which is why I showed up in the first place. I had to teach myself. And that's how I came up with the dumbest way you could possibly learn how to backflip, because it's how I taught myself, and it literally took me 6 years. That's how bad this idea was.
Wow.
I'm gonna show you that in a second, but before we get started, we should probably look at the logical, rational ways you should learn to do a backflip. Now that I've been in the industry for over 20 years, I've learned a thing or two. So let me show you that first. So this is the first step in the logical, most rational way to teach yourself a backflip. All right, you got this mat stack here. When it comes to doing a standing backflip, you want to know if you can jump. So you have a big mat stack behind you, jump up onto it, and you're like, oh yeah, I can jump. That makes sense. And then we got to create some rotation, because I want to know if we can rotate backwards. So you might jump up into kind of like a tucked candlestick shape. Whoa, yeah, okay, I got that. That makes sense. This looks like a backflip. The dumbest way you could possibly teach yourself, which is how I taught myself, looked nothing like this. I would have been way better off if I used this step. This is step one. Then you might go to the next logical step, which will be step two, and I'm going to show you it's over here. So we just saw the jump and kind of rotate to your back in the logical, rational way to learn a backflip. In this setup, we have a height, and we're going to roll over and kind of have a death fall go on. Fatality. So you just lay on your back. You got to make sure that your shoulders are on the block. So an amateur mistake would be to have here, and then you start sliding off and you just die to your head. So you got to keep your shoulders on. You just look behind you and you just pull your, man, this is uncomfortable and scary. Okay, here we go. You just pull your knees over, you just go, and it works out every time. And it's super fun, and it gets you that exhilaration of like, oh, wow, I'm gonna die, and then you live, and that's what a backflip feels like. So this is a logical step. It makes sense. This looks like a backflip. It is nothing like what I did when I taught myself. These are logical steps, but they're not always the most fun and interesting. And I figured, well, I should probably show you some fun and interesting ways you could teach yourself to backflip, which again, I didn't use, but that's over here. So I'm gonna show you this first fun and interesting way. Okay, so here is a fun and very interesting way to learn how to do a backflip. I got 5 wedges, and I'm kind of creating this slope. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run up this into a forward roll, and then use gravity to make this fall backwards roll feeling. It's super exhilarating. It's just wild. Okay, here we go. So you just run up it and just roll. And that fall backwards roll feeling, it's like it gives you that feel of a backflip because it just happens so quickly. It just pulls you right over. It makes sense. This is a fun and interesting way to do it. We can make it harder too, which we should. See, now we made a steeper incline.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Okay, let's go for it. Here we go. Right? That is fun and interesting. Like, boom, ground's coming fast. So this at least even looks a little bit like a backflip. You got that fall backward. This makes sense. This is not what the dumbest way to learn how to do a backflip is. I want to show you another fun and interesting way, and that's over on the bars by the foam pit. So we're going to head over there. Here is another interesting way you can learn to do a backflip. Just climb on top of a bar, let yourself fall backwards, hope you flip. It's kind of backflippy. Let's see what happens. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that kind of looks like a backflip. That makes sense. That's interesting. That's fun. That's different. That's super scary. But this is not the dumbest way you could possibly learn how to do a backflip. So let's go do that next. You've been waiting long enough. I'm ready to show you the dumbest way you could possibly learn how to do a backflip. Let's go. You've waited long enough. It has arrived. The dumbest way to learn a backflip. It's just the squishy wedge. It's gotta be really one of those squishy wedges that you use. So this is how it went. I started low. My logic here was maybe I'll just do a backwards roll up something because it's kind of like what a backflip is. And so I would just jump. You should not try this at home, by the way. I just jump, crush my neck, over. You gotta be flexible and space yourself appropriately. Clearly my muscle memory remembers because I landed that like perfectly. So I would just jump and just crunch myself. And you just have to have that really good flexibility there to really just smash your neck in. And then you just go higher, punch yourself. And I just got really good at that. And this took me 6 years to figure out this magic trick of a progression step. And then you just did things like that. So I don't recommend you doing this at all. I think the logical ways are better, the more interesting ways are more fun, and this is completely stupid. I could never imagine taking a student through this process and being like, you know what, class, today we're gonna learn how to do a backflip. We're just gonna crunch our neck a million times up this wedge. So you guys have it. How to teach yourself a backflip the dumbest way possible.
That was legitness.
You can go see a chiropractor. All right, I wanted to give you a special feature. This has nothing to do with backflipping. This has everything to do with rolling. I'm gonna do a double rolly roll up the wedge and then down the wedge. The timing has to be so precise because if I'm off by 1 millisecond, I'm gonna do a neck cruncher right to my head. So this is what's gonna happen. I gotta start over here. Okay, key is you wanna enter in at a 45-degree angle. You gotta make sure that you're not a little too shallow, not a little too steep. It's not gonna work. Okay, you gotta accelerate max velocity right when you get there. Here we go. There you go. That's the wall roll right there for you, folks. So take 6 wedges and an 8-incher, some guts and bravery. Anything's possible.